we got the first new space helmet, and here is how we did it. In December of 2021, Doctor started selling his space helmet en masse. It had been sold before, of course, but never to this scale. The collectors in the community were going nuts, but the question was, how do we get one? Well, you can't simply message an admin. That'd be ridiculous. Instead, you had to /invite him to your island and hope, out of the hundreds of invites he was getting, that he picked yours. Alternatively, you could visit someone else who had Doctor already on their island, send him a trade request, and pray you got lucky. Well, that's what happened for some. I joined a few servers who were hunting him down, but they always announced it too late. They kept getting caught in the heat of the moment. The one time I did manage to join an island who was visiting, he didn't accept my trade, went AFK, then left the island. It was sad. The end of the day came and I never managed to buy a space helmet. But I was not one to be defeated. In early February 2022, Doctor and Lady Blue sold some more space helmets. But I missed them all again. At the end of the day, on the 6th of February 2022, one of the fellow hunters DM'd me. Their name was Ben C. He came to me with a proposal. Could we track when admins logged into and out of Hypixel so we could optimize our chances for a Doctor visit? Yes we could. And yes, Ben, that was an amazing idea. I added that to one of my bots and it started a partnership that evolved into a friendship, a co-op ad, and an IRL meetup in the months to come. I never did get my space helmet. Ben, Xander, and Hellcastle all got theirs. Doctor required from Hypixel to go work at Amazon. What a career change. And me? I've never seen a single episode of Breaking Bad. The date is February 14th, 2023. Valentine's Day, but more importantly, Garden Day. Ever since the space helmet's rename from Doctor Space Helmet to just Space Helmet, and the introduction of the Spaceman NPC on Garden, we knew we wanted it. It would also turn out to be edition 420, and that's a cool number. We had to have it. Little did we know how much of a rollercoaster that was going to be. We enlisted all of our co-op members, and by all, we mean all, even the people who own the spare accounts who never played Skyblock before. All 5 of us then got to work, putting in 16-hour shifts, farming every single one of the crops to boost our milestones. However, to have 5 people farming at once, we needed more than the base plots, so we invested in compost. A lot of it. But it was all going to be worth it, right? We'd be rolling in space helmets and surely we could make that money back easily. Right? By the end of day 1, we'd already hit Garden level 10. One all-nighter after, Garden 11. Garden 15 seemed right around the corner. Maybe another day or 2 of this and I'd finally have my very own space helmet. Or so we thought. Garden level 11 was 10,000 more XP on top of level 10. Levels 1 to 10 takes about 10,000 XP to get combined. It was not going to be anywhere near as easy as we'd hoped. But still, we were a fifth of the way there. 4 more 16-hour days and we'd hit it. That's hellish, but hey, we really wanted this space helmet. Except, we were wrong again. Each crop milestone got considerably harder. To level each crop up to level 20, we had to farm about 2.5 million crops. We hit milestone 20 and almost all of the crops by the time we were level 11, which was around 2,000 Garden XP per crop milestone. With 10 total crops, around 20,000 XP. To get another 10,000 XP though, we didn't need to farm 1.25 million of each crop. We didn't even need to farm 2.5 million of each crop again. We needed to mine 11 million more of every single crop to level up half the amount we just had. That's around 4 times the work for half the XP. The next 10,000 XP after that, we needed to mine 60 million more crops. That's 6 times more work yet. Clearly this was not going to work out. That would mean Garden 12 takes 8 days, and Garden 13 would take 48. No, we needed better farms, better tools, better XP. Enter the visitors. 2.75 Garden XP per visitor. Doesn't sound like much, does it? But here's the catch. We could get visitors more than once a minute. That, plus the milestone XP, brought our baseline XP per hour to around 200. That means, to get 10,000 XP, we only need 50 hours of grinding. That was surprisingly doable. Roughly 3 days per level, 4 more levels, 12 days of grinding. That is a lot of grinding, but hey, it was better than hundreds of days. We got to work. We would wake up, start farming, wait for our other co-op members to get on, and just hang out in a call all day. It motivated us to keep going. Having accountability for your farming, as well as someone to chat to, helped a lot. As I said, 16 hours a day is a long time when all you're doing is holding 2 buttons down. We watched a lot of Netflix. We watched both Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs movies. Ben was astounded that I'd never seen Breaking Bad. We started watching it. Remember how I said we needed better farms and better tools? We spent hundreds of millions of coins to buy the tools, but we still had to move a bunch every time we finished a row of crops. Not very efficient. In the very early morning of the 18th of February, Ben and Matt got to work building a new kind of farm. Instead of only being 1 layer tall, it went to the max height. That meant that when you finish farming 1 layer, you just switch the key you're holding and farm the next. Super efficient. Ben started building at 11 PM on the 17th, and stayed up until 1 PM the next day working on these farms. But when they were done, they were magnificent. We farmed the whole day of the 18th, and let me tell you, we got a lot of farming done. We hit Garden 12 in the morning, and by the end of the day, we were already well on our way to 13. Disaster struck. The date was the 21st of February. We just hit Garden 13. Hypixel announced they were changing the new build limit to 10 blocks. It used to be 50. 10 blocks above bedrock. Our existing farms, especially Netherwart, weren't even fully regenerated after farming a whole 5x1 50 block tall farm. Did they just completely delete farming with a co-op? Well, yeah. They kinda did. We could have had someone on mushroom, cacti, 2 on Netherwart, 1 on potato, carrots, wheat, pumpkin, and melons with just 5 plots. And they were all pretty much infinite. That's 9 people's worth of capacity in 5 plots. To do that now, you need around 18 plots. You can only buy 24 of them in total. If we wanted to unlock 18 plots right now, after the prices dropped, it would cost us around 200 million coins. However, we didn't spend 200 million coins. If we had bought them right when this patch dropped, we would have spent 400 million coins. However, right at the start of the garden update, we bought 17 plots, all before February 17th. This meant that we had already spent a whole billion coins on compost. Before we reached the end, we had also bought another 3 plots to satisfy our needs, totaling a rough spend of 1.2 billion coins on plots alone. We had to rebuild again. This time we had a hard limit, and much less creative freedom as to how to rebuild our plots. The update was implemented the day after the announcement, so we made the most of our tall farm while we could, farming for hours and hours before we got back to redesigning. By this point, Ben and our honorary co-op Matt had been crunching the numbers to perfectly optimize how we spent our time to earn XP. They realized something. If we simply grinded visitors, we would get there so much faster now. We decided not to worry too much about the milestones, maybe get 1 or 2 co-op members to work on the easiest milestones in the background and have everyone else focus on visitors. Now, when I say focus on visitors, this doesn't make sense, does it? Surely you get visitors from farming all the crops, so the point is moot, right? Well, yes and no. Yes, all the crops speed up the visitors, but not equally. Now, it turns out that the visitor timer was more correlated to blocks broken rather than crops obtained. This means that farming melons, which drop many melons per block, wasn't the best. No, our 2 winners were sugarcane and cactus. And even though the default Hypixel farms were absolutely dreadful, there was one farm that was pretty damn good with the defaults. The sugarcane farm. So, we got to farming. We made good progress. The minutes flew by, the hours turned into days, and before we knew it...
Okay.
Do it. For the
Come
love
on.
of
3,
God.
2, 1, boom!
Holy shit!
Oh,
You're so
God,
long.
Holy shit.
I never want to farm again.
Oh
Too
my
easy.
god. Can we go up? Can you go? Oh, what? Oh, we've changed it to the thing. Okay. Oh, can we go
Yeah,
to,
here we go. Here we
Oh,
go.
yeah.
Talk about.
Let's get those crop upgrades, boys. Oh my god. Oh, I don't even have enough copper to unlock them. We should have enough between everyone, right?
We do, yeah.
I only have 225.
So this is the, what is it called?
Mansion
Mansion
Heights.
Heights? Oh
Mansion.
my god.
I think it's everything.
Oh my
Oh wait,
god.
one last one. Oh, I can't afford
That's
the wheat one. No.
Ridiculous. Matt, where'd you go?
I took a screenshot and my game crashed.
Nice.
Nice. Lovely.
We finally hit it. Garden 15. The Spaceman was just around the corner, and he only needs one type of crop. We thought, or maybe I just hoped, that it would be just like the other visitors. Maybe more like 2 to 3 times the requirements considering how hard it was to get to this point. Maybe he only visits once, asks for a cheap deal, and never returns. Well, the only way to find out was to grind. But we'd all been awake for 36 hours, so maybe we find out tomorrow. We hopped back on early the next day. Ben had published a video, and all was going well. We started farming again, and well, we got visitors alright. We got many visitors. But surprisingly, no Spaceman. We kept farming, nothing. Midday came and went, with no more Spaceman in sight. We got into the late afternoon, and suddenly some well-known members of the community were saying it was broken. They had insight that it was bugged. That scared us. A lot. We'd just invested over 1,000 collective hours, and we might not even get the Spaceman. We contacted tons of people until we got confirmation that it, indeed, was not bugged. That boosted morale a lot. Farming resumed. We seemed well on track to get the only February space helmet. The Spaceman couldn't be that rare, right? February 28th. The worst day yet. They released the odds. 1 in 2,500. 0.04%. Crazy low odds. Rarer than a Necron's handle. But we could do a visitor every minute. When was the last time you got sub 60 second floor 7 runs? We had hope. No other co-op seemed close. They were just breaking Garden 14 and we all know how hard it is to do a whole other level. Plus, since we hit Garden 15 already, and were pretty much guaranteed the first space helm with the lead we had, it was pretty demotivating for the other people speedrunning. Or so I'd heard. The Spaceman would be super luck based, but for now we're the only ones who could roll the dice. We felt like we had the victory secured. You saw this coming, didn't you? Nothing ever goes right. New patch notes. Visitor Garden XP now scales based on Garden level. What the fuck? Remember how I said before we averaged around 2.75 XP per visitor? It was now more like 21 XP per visitor. They buffed the XP rates by 7.5 times once you hit Garden 10, which, I'm sure you'll remember, we hit by day 1. That means people could do it 7.5 times faster, or, considering this took us 2 weeks, others could do it in 2 days. Rolling 1 visitor per minute meant that it'd take us an average of 2,500 minutes. That's 41 hours straight of visitor rolling. Again, that's enough time for anyone else to also get to Garden 15 before we get it. Time to watch more Breaking Bad and farm. And farm we did. For a whole day straight. We farmed and we farmed and we farmed. Did I ever mention that it's a damn good show? Breaking Bad, that is. I loved it. It's the only thing I can remember. That lasted 2 more days, to March 2nd. We were past our February goal. Other people had hit Garden 15 or were going to hit it pretty soon. It was really demotivating. It's pretty common with random luck chances like these that someone else comes along and gets way luckier than us. It's now simply a question of, how lucky are we? The dedication didn't feel worth it anymore. The farming nearly came to a halt. Except one man. Ben was dedicated to his cactus farming. He wanted another gold medal. They're worth a decent amount, and we'd blown billions of coins buying visitors at this point. Plus, the farming fortune was nice, and he wanted to get number 1 in the cactus contest. While doing said cactus contest, he appeared. The Spaceman. It was 11:30 AM on the 3rd of March. He freaked out. He called the co-op, and I hopped on as soon as I could. Everything else is history. We always planned to start streaming when we got the Spaceman, especially when it turns out he was going to cost us another 4 billion coins worth of enchanted baked potatoes. But anyway, if you want that story, you can watch Ben's summary of the events, as well as the stream highlights over on his channel. The video is linked in the description. Remember how earlier in the video I said it was going to be edition number 420? Yeah, that was a lie. A full week into our grind, Jay Varman mentioned in an interview that the helm was going to have no to or from data.
It doesn't say from.
Which made sense. It wasn't being given by Doctor or any admin. And the wiki editors edited it on the wiki to be a completely blank space helmet. We hoped this was some form of misinterpretation. Surely it would still have edition numbers. Even the Shen's auction items have those, right? Wrong. It was blank. Regardless, it had been a long journey. And plus, the blank space helm has a pretty clean look, I have to admit. And it's unique too, right? No. 2 hours after they hit Garden 15, someone else unlocked it. And over the next few days to weeks, 4 more people have bought their own. Oh well. It was worth it in our hearts. At least it's not soulbound. Yet.